Hey everyone, welcome to our rescheduled session from earlier on today, the AI powered content marketer. So if you were with me live when we originally were meant to be live and I didn't show up, I apologize. We just had a little bit of a tech issue earlier on today, and Lucy, I think, updated people. And then I've just gotten off our live looking at the new tone of voice feature with our Marketing Magic customers. So we are getting stuck into all things content marketing for today. And it's my second live stream of the day. I am currently also caffeinating my brain. So thank you for your patience as I will be drinking more than normal during the session because I've just done a live stream and my throat is scratchy as anything today. So if you're watching the replay and you've got any questions, as always, do feel free to ask a question and I'll get back to you in the chat. But for now, we are going to be diving into how you can use AI as you provide content marketing services to your clients. And I'm going to be doing a screen share and then we will get stuck in and you'll get a copy of the notes as with the previous sessions. So if you okay, sorry, bear with me one moment. Okay. If you recall from our previous sessions, we have got documents that you can check out, and they help with positioning when it comes to your services. I am all over the place today, peeps. I am just here we go. I had all my tabs closed and then now we're here. Great. So present and let's share my screen. So we are going to be looking at how we position the value of content marketing services when AI can help our clients do things, as far as they're concerned, how it's going to save them money and they can get it done themselves. How do we frame the context and the value of our content marketing expertise to people who are potentially going to come back to us with the argument? How do we use AI tools in our service provision without undermining our skills, our expertise, and what it is that we bring to the table? So in this document, we have got a variety of different industry tools when it comes to positioning yourself and different bullet points and things like that can help. This particular one is looking at content marketing, obviously, and we have got some different areas that AI can help with content. Let me just change this document to American English so that my spelling doesn't get underlined all the way through. The unique value of a human in this space, and then the key qualities and skills that a human content marketer can provide just when it comes to having these conversations. We always want to be transparent with our use of AI, as we have been talking about in this series, because consent is a really important part of using data with AI models. There are a lot of legal issues going on at the moment for OpenAI in particular because of how data was used to train these models. And it's really important that we are transparent and feel comfortable to share that AI is part of the tool set that we bring to our client projects. So let's just chat through some of these super quickly. Content marketing, and then we're going to look at practical workflows that you can use when it comes to providing content marketing services. So the generation of content is a really obvious one. AI is, when we think of GPT, that is generative AI. It's generating content. It's the clues in the name. And especially for things that follow a particular structure or format, for the analysis of things that are, maybe you've got a whole load of customer data, you can use AI to pull pull out common themes and questions in the like customer feedback and surveys and things like that. Personalization. So again, when we're thinking about the use of AI, a lot of the things that we're building are predetermined decision trees and flows that provide personalized context for people within our audiences. Scheduling and managing content calendars. So we already have got scheduling as part of the standard suite of content marketer tools, but we are going to start to see more tools building in AI, and also not just like, use AI to write a post in this tool, but more complex than that this is generating tool content. Generating captions is like the most basic thing. We are going to start to see tools building in features where the AI is, if you put something in a content bucket and you predetermine what you're talking about and when, we're going to start to see tools building in the sort of filter and decision flow process for repurposing content and things like that for schedulers moving forwards, because the generative AI creation of captions is really the sort of bare minimum. So when we're thinking about the idea of scheduling, that too will get up levels and automated, and the tools that currently allow you to put things in a repurpose bucket or to queue things up are going to have the option to do that in a more strategic way. That's my prediction. Probably is already being rolled out, but I don't use a lot of social scheduling tools, so I've not kept apprised of that. But we are going to start to see more and more good quality product upgrades from some of these software services, because they will be forced to do that in order to stay ahead of the game. So recommending content topics and analyzing performance, assisting with keyword optimization for search engine optimization, automating certain tasks, basically anything that's a decision ultimately can be automated, and we can build out AI systems that help with that. So the tools that we use will vary, but these are all examples of things that are functionally or feasibly possible using automation and artificial intelligence. So there's a few more there that kind of give you a sense of what the future might look like when it comes to more mainstream functionality built in tools. What are some of the unique values of humans in this role? So creative storytelling. So I have just wrapped up a really big project. I say wrapped it up, I've just deployed it. It's still in progress, bug testing and everything. But a big piece of the research that I've been doing over the last few months has been looking at the ways in which AI is detectable. So Google's algorithm updates are, for all intents and purposes, with the one that they've had most recently, it was designed to pick up generative AI. So they want to, with Spam Brain, they're wanting to pick up, sorry if you have my door and the dogs, by the way, that will hopefully settle down in a minute, but they are currently being very loud. With Google's Spam Brain, it's picking up content that looks like it's low quality or looks like it has been created by generative AI, and it is, high volume but low quality, and it picks up the different patterns and different things within the content that mark it as being more likely to have been created by AI than a human. I talked about this in my email on Monday out to my list, but a student in a state in the US has been, she went viral on TikTok in February for using Grammarly to correct the grammar in her college essay, and she has been put on probation because it was picked up as being AI generated. So when we're thinking about the use of AI in content, what it is doing is always mimicking what humans might do, but it is not very good at mimicking it at a granular level and a detailed level. So there's a couple of things there where you've got more, more to do with the sort of structural and content-based like elements, like the different characteristics of writing. But on the other side of it, you've got a lack of humanity. So the reason that a lot of AI gets picked up is because there is a lack of personal expression or a lack of human touch in there. There's no, personal stories or anecdotes. The sort of personality is missing, but not because the writing doesn't express personality, because the substantive content of the page is missing story. So AI can take, a starting point and some bullet points and weave a narrative around it, but AI cannot fundamentally pull out the stories from your clients and from your customers. It can't look at how those stories build out a bigger picture of the world around them. So when we are looking at providing content marketing services to our clients, there is a whole world of opportunity out there in terms of the things that you could be talking out as a business owner. As a content marketer, you're going in to get to know your client and to get to know what their goals are and to get to know who their customers are. And then you're providing a filter for them to know what the most strategic next step is in terms of content creation, to know what to repurpose in their businesses and where to start with that, to know what the highest impact is, and to also be able to pull out the stories and elements of their own experiences that are going to resonate with their ideal audience. So when we look at the idea of storytelling on its own, yes, AI can weave a narrative, but AI cannot pull out those personal details. AI cannot filter through the things that are most relevant in somebody's minds, emotions, experiences, and worldview, and pull out the things that are going to create a compelling story for an audience of people who are trying to achieve the same thing or have shared interests or goals. So storytelling is one element of this, but then the creative side of it is the other. So again, AI it's pattern based, it's algorithmic, it's mathematical. There are calculations at play. Creativity, ultimately, it can be done in, let's say, you can there's a book called Steal Like an Artist. I can't remember the name of the author, Adam something, but Steal Like an Artist is an example of this, where it's the idea there isn't anything like truly original, because everything that we do builds on things that we've seen, things that we've experienced, and then it's put through our own lens. But when we think about the way that humans do that, we are often connecting very disparate elements and pulling them together. AI can do that if it's told to do that, but it also can only do that within a very, very narrow set of communication-based parameters. I've talked about visual generative AI, so models like DALL-E and Midjourney and things like that are hugely problematic, because they can only provide you with a really good quality piece of artwork if you have given it a set of parameters that often include references to the copyrighted work of actual artists or the intellectual property of actual artists. Sometimes that art has, obviously, the copyright has expired or whatever, but they can only function when they're given parameters that exist within people's bodies of work. Now, when you think about creative storytelling in a content marketing capacity, that is how it's not just the format, right? It's not just the message, it's how you're delivering that. So what is the and animators use a thing called storyboarding, which I think is also used in like film and sort of anything that's to do with like cinematography. When you think about the story that you're pulling out of a piece of content, how are you visualizing it and communicating that in different ways? Like, what is happening at any given moment? How are you creatively delivering your content via different formats? So there's Bear Paints in the US, I think it's a US brand, BEHR, Bear Paints. Their social media marketer did this really fun thing on TikTok where it was a white wall and they just rolled down the paint, and then they added some animations that came out of the paint. And it was basically like red had cherries and yellow had gold coins and things like that. And it was just a really, really effective way of highlighting some of the different colors that ended up going viral, because people found it really pleasing and it made like little noises, and people were like, oh, it's really, it's good ASMR. And so the social media marketer for that company has looked at trends for ASMR and different like home decor and things and thought, oh, here's how we could apply technology to do something fun that is going to engage people and build up brand awareness. So when we're thinking about creative storytelling, that is the kind of creativity that we want to be able to bring in as well. And we are probably going to start to see more content marketers taking an approach of art direction and the creative direction that we see a lot of in agencies that hasn't necessarily filtered down to the freelancer model, because creative directors are a really nice to have expense for some of these bigger companies with bigger budgets, but those types of visuals are a way of being able to bring creativity into the narrative as a content marketer in a way that is going to capture the joy and imagination of your ideal clients and customers, or those of your ideal audience. So went off on a big tangent there, so I apologize for that. But let's keep going. So crafting engaging and compelling content narratives. So narrative and the flow of your content is something that is another big issue with AI. If you're creating long form content with AI, it is going to sound very similar all the way through it, and there are some issues with like logic and things like that, where the flow of a piece of content is fine if you're not a content marketer, but as an expert content marketer, you want to be able to develop the skill and confidence to look at a piece of text and say, okay, well, we need to make sure that we're staying on message here. We need to make sure that this is aligned with the thing that we're wanting our customers to understand or know by the end of this particular piece of content. So it's ironic because I spend a lot of time in the lives that we do going off on a tangent, but I am incredibly good at analyzing a piece of content for staying on message and thinking about it from different angles. And it's something that I really, really enjoy. So I don't stay on message when I'm on lives necessarily. We do always get around to the point, but it is something that as a content marketer, your ability to look at this and say, actually, is this directly relevant to the intent that is behind this page, to what this person needs to know at this point of their interaction with your company, whatever kind of content that is. So staying on message is a really important piece. And even if you're using AI to generate content, that has got to be a part of your workflow. So you really, want to be analyzing all of your different assets to make sure that the message over all of them is a cohesive journey. Understanding and aligning your content with your brand voice. This is something that, again, if you have been using AI, you have probably had to make quite a few edits to things, because brand voice needs to be very concretely captured and defined and expressed. And if that hasn't been done by a company and you're going in without it, you have a whole load of other subjective issues to deal with when it comes to your client. But especially with AI, if you haven't already got an understanding of what a brand tone of voice is, it's very, very difficult to get good quality results that are staying on message all the way through. So making sure that that brand voice is consistent is something that needs to be put through a human filter. Building relationships with influencers and collaborators. Relational stuff is a really important part of what it means to be human and what it means to be a business owner. And when we are automating things in our businesses for our clients or for ourselves, the idea is that the space can be used to do things that are more human, and that might be within your role as far as building relationships are concerned and having a bit more time to connect with people without the pressure of a to-do list chasing you, or it could be that you have the ability to work part-time and spend more time with your family. So you can choose what you would prefer to do with your time when it comes to that. Creatively solving content challenges or roadblocks, mentoring, leading content teams, developing long-term content strategies and visions, anything long-term that is a vision or a strategy moving forwards in the future absolutely needs to have human input. AI can predict what could happen based on a trend of data, and it will say to you, here's a pathway for doing this, but ultimately it's only going to be able to give you a prediction based on what's already happened. So it's going to give you a path that has already been trod, if that makes sense. If you're wanting to build something that is fresh, go in a fresh direction, that is something that does need an understanding of your current context and a vision for what could be possible, and then a clear set of steps to get there and measure against for the 3 to 5 years ahead. Mentoring and leading content teams. Again, this can be people who are doing creative, copy, creative as in visuals, copy. It can be, animation. Like who would you have in your dream content team? What is the kind of content that you'd be creating? That's really the space that we can move into with content marketing, is like, what artists would you have in your content team? What videographers, animators, like photographers, like people who are a core part of our businesses and our teams, but are fully in the creative realm. So that is something that is going to grow and become, I think, more of a focus for a lot of businesses as well. Infusing cultural relevance and emotion into content. Again, that is a really, your content has to hit in order for you to really connect with people. And then the key qualities and skills for a human content marketer, creativity and storytelling, connection with the brand identity and values. So being able to really step into the space that your client is in and act from within that. Understanding who the audience is and being able to build out enough of an emotional connection and sort of empathic approach to that you can have meaningful conversations with them through the medium of marketing. Collaboration and communication. Communication is a really core thing. And I said to my husband last night, because over the last year, I've been building out Marketing Magic and had, health issues and stuff as well. And I would say, like, of all the years of my life, I've seen the fewest people in real life over the last year than I have at any other point, even in the pandemic, because we lived in a house in a pandemic where there were other people around. And the absolute irony that I've probably spent the least amount of time interacting with humans, but have been able to build out a tool that sounds 100% like a human. But that is because of communication skills, right? We are, when we're marketers and good quality marketers, communication is the thing that we are honing all the time, like figuring out how to use words and communicate via different formats and medium to really get a message across and have the impact that you want to have. Communication, big one for content marketers. Understanding how your strategy can be applied across different platforms and kind of staying abreast of the changes that happen on platforms, and being so there's a little bit more of a generalist energy to that, in that if you are thinking about how to strategically get content out there, content marketing is video, it's audio, it's written content, it's a variety of different types of content. And so you might be looking at being a little bit more of a generalist when it comes to the platforms, so that you can kind of, give a strategy, say, here's how you would distribute this on this platform at the moment, or we can adapt and actually take that content and apply it over here because that platform is not going to still be available in the US, for instance, in the next 12 months, but that kind of adaptability and comfort with the channels that you're using to get that content out into the world, because platforms come and go, but you can use a strategy across pretty much any platform that's available, as long as you can adapt it. Cultural sensitivity, ethical integrity, building community and relationships, and team building stuff for bigger teams as well. So this will be available in the replay, but we're going to have a little look at how we would use Marketing Magic to build out some of the deliverables that you might go to your clients with as a content marketer. And I'm going to pull these out with, through the lens of working in the SEO space for a number of years. So let me just hit not now. I'm just going to double check and see if there are any questions. if you do have any questions, feel free to add them in if you're joining this later or watching the replay. So as far as content marketing is concerned, there are a few different elements of this. So you might be a strategist where you are going into someone's business and doing a bit of a deep dive on their business, their goals, their customers, and helping them to create a strategy that works for their resources and a plan of action for, the year ahead. So when I was focused a lot more on SEO, I would go in and do an audit and create a keyword research strategy and a plan of action in terms of optimizing different pages, and then also a content plan that's going to reinforce that strategy. And so the strategist is either somebody who is going in, a project level and doing a comprehensive project, but within a set period of time, that you might have them come back again in 6 months or a year to just make sure you're on track for that strategy before handing off to internal team members to build that out. So content strategist is one side of it, and then the content marketer in terms of the delivery and the implementation side is the other factor here as well. You might have both, where you are providing the strategic support and then an ongoing retainer for your clients. And so in that case, you would have the sort of initial onboarding period, which is what a lot of agencies have, is like a more intensive onboarding period, and then a monthly retainer moving forwards, where things are implemented once the strategy and plan has been agreed. So for the purposes of this demonstration, we are going to think through what it would look like to build out a content strategy and to look at the existing brand through the lens of building that plan out, and then also of the implementation of specific deliverables. So for the strategy side of things, there are a couple of things with Marketing Magic that I'm going to highlight, but the tool that I've just demoed to our existing customers is our new Website Magic tool. My background is SEO, so I've worked in that for a lot of years. I'm going to just pull up my website, and I'm going to pull out my that's mostly audio content, so I'm actually going to leave that one and pull out something that is a little bit more overthinking this now. Let's go to the blog and do a blog post, and we will do keyword research. Here we go. So we're going to pull out this blog, and we are going to keyword blog post, put that in here, and then we're going to hit add page. So that has now added this keyword blog post to my account. So when you are auditing your client accounts, you are trying to get an understanding of what their business is all about right now, and what their goals are, and kind of align the two things to identify what gaps there are and where you can kind of fill things with content and what you can repurpose. And you're doing like a kind of bigger look at all of this. Now, the way that I would approach this personally, if I was doing an SEO strategy, would be to use a tool like SEMrush, where I can get really into the nitty gritty of the website data and all of that good stuff. But for the purposes of creating a content strategy, what I would be doing is obviously analyzing their website and having a look at what's going on there, and then pulling out some of the sort of key pages where they're communicating a little bit more about who their business is, and reviewing their positioning and their messaging around that. So let's, for the sake of this demo, say that we've got a homepage as well. Let's do this as a homepage. Add that in. So we've got a homepage, and we've got a blog post, we've got a sales page, and we've got a work with me page. So let me regenerate this one, because that was my test one from earlier in the day. And we're going to hit add page there as well. So we've got a key page from each different page type here. And then what we can do is head over to Marketing Magic, and we can get some keyword suggestions for each of these pages to get a sense of, okay, what are the themes that are coming across here? What are the things that are coming across in the content right now, where there are opportunities potentially for us to build out more around that particular topic. So I can then send that over to, Google or Notion, and we've got a whole load of different suggestions here for this particular page. So the keyword suggestions is always the place that I would start with when it comes to looking at a web page on Marketing Magic, because quite often there will be suggestions here that I hadn't necessarily thought of before, or I might think, oh, I've got a piece of content, or I've seen a piece of content, or this would be really good as this kind of page. So it's just a really nice ideation space really for that as well. So keyword suggestions can be a really handy way to shortcut the understanding of positioning and messaging that your client's website is currently visible for, and what pages they've got going on right now. And that is doable for each of those. Again, once you've sent it over to Google or Notion, it creates a really nice, neat space for you to be able to go back and work through things and then potentially present it to your client from there. But the keyword suggestion piece is really, it's like what your positioning is right now. Okay. So then if we head over to the brand tools, we've got the word bank, and this is a also known as a brand lexicon sometimes, but this is something that will suggest different words that might be relevant to the industry or topic area for this particular business. So I'm going to pull out themes and topics for this, and then we're going to also pull out actions and verbs so you can see some suggestions for that as well. Again, these all would come under the sort of umbrella of doing research around different key areas and positioning and topic relevancy for your ideal customer. So what are some of the actions and verbs? Again, these are things that I like using in ads and stuff like that, so that's something there as well. But themes and topics, crafting your unique brand story, these are all relevant to Heyman Extra, which is a marketing brand, obviously. But these are some different themes and topics that might be relevant to the brand. And then there's also outcomes as well. So this one is, as far as the messaging piece is concerned, coming up with a list of approved topics, of approved ways of talking about things. So actions and verbs, I would talk to people about growing their business. I would not talk to them about enhancing their business. So for me, I would have a set of words where I'm like, these are the things that this is the way that we would communicate them. So this is also a really nice way to be able to highlight your customers' brand voice and document that as part of the content strategy build out process. So word bank, we have looked at that a little bit, and then we're going to go to customer magic again. Everything starts with customers. So this is going to help you get a sense of who your client is, because you can do this through the lens of who is your client, what does their industry look like, what are they trying to achieve, get a little bit more of an understanding of where your client sits in the space, and then you can do it for their customers, so your client's customers, who your client is trying to reach, and getting a real understanding of their customer demographics and psychographics, as well as things like behavioral indicators and things like that. The AI is going to give you a starting point for all of that. So we've looked at the customer journey tool previously, and I'm going to go over to the ideal customer research one for today. But let's just pull out a couple of lesser used tools or lesser known tools that can be a really helpful place to start. I am using GPT-4, so it takes slightly longer, but the results tend to be better quality. But it just means that it's taking a couple of extra seconds because I've just kept my account on that now. So what are the motivations and values of your ideal audience? So what does social status look like for your client and for their clients? What does aspiration look like for them? What are the people that they're looking up to? Richard Branson and Jeff Bezos is so off-brand for my audience, but anyway, it's AI, it's not perfect. And then we've got four problematic white guys in the aspiration section. So you're gonna have to like filter out a little bit. But aspiration there, for that, it's talking about who is it that people might be looking up to. Perception, what like how do they want to be perceived, what do they want to be seen as? And so this one is really again focused on like the AI and marketing stuff that I have set up in my own brand account. But motivations and values is a really interesting one to tap into, that kind of goes beyond like, what does their lifestyle look like, what time do they take their kids to school, what do they do with their free time. And then we also have got objections down here as well. Let's do emotions and see what comes out there while we talk about objections. So objections: concern about the cost of courses, resources and tools being too high for small business budgets, doubts about the effectiveness of marketing strategies in their specific industry or niche, fear that implementing new marketing technologies, especially generative AI, might be too complex or technical, worries that the time investment required to learn and apply new marketing strategies might not yield immediate results, skepticism about the tangible benefits of SEO and organic marketing versus advertising, apprehension. So these are all on point for my audience. Having worked in the space that I've worked in for many years, these are conversations that I've had many times. So as far as things like objections are concerned, again, why? Yes, they're concerned. Okay, so they don't want to they don't want to pay for a course. Okay, so we're like, oh, price is the objection. No, concern about whether it's worth it, concern about whether the cost of courses is a bubble that is worthwhile for their business. Like, we're getting a little bit further into the why behind the objections, and being able to understand the root of the objections and get an insight into why that objection might be there is something that, especially with content marketing, where you are creating assets that can be used for years at a time, or are going to be an asset for 2 to 3 years at least, making sure that you have understood the context for people is a really big part of this. And historically, you would go into a business and do a lot of voice of customer research, do customer interviews and surveys, things like that. All of those things are incredibly helpful for you to listen to the actual customers that your clients are serving. But that is a really time-intensive process. So the reason that I've used like the customer journey demo is because I've spent hundreds of hours over the years. Like, it takes 100 hours of work to build out a customer journey map for a typical business using manual methods. It is a really time-intensive process. Like, market research is a time-intensive process. You can still do that, but using AI to like filter down and help you understand what your question should be, who you should be talking to, means that you can do a whole lot of research and then have like a smaller number of voice of customer interviews with people that are going to be higher impact, because you can pull out the like really key elements where you're like, I just want to, I've built this out. Here are some of my assumptions. Let's have some voice of customer to make sure that this is aligned with the real customers of the brand, and then go from there. Emotions, how do they want to feel? What do they want to feel when it comes to your business as well? So there's a whole load of ones here, but when we're doing any kind of content marketing, understanding who you're speaking to is just one of the most time consuming but most impactful things that you can do. So we've got customer research. Overview is just a short customer persona, and then the customer journey. We will look at this. I'm going to generate all while we're talking. But this is for all 5 stages, and again, with content marketing, podcasting, video content, articles, emails, any kind of content that is being created. We're not taking this like campaign driven approach where it's only necessarily relevant for this time. And when you think about advertising, it's a good example of this. Like, advertising is very time bound. You might have an advertising campaign that exists on the London Underground for 3 months, right? There are certain people who advertise on the Underground who've been using the same adverts since I was a child. And I remember being on the London Underground and seeing the same adverts that still get rolled out now. has its place, right? But it looked really dated for a bit, and now it's been there so long, it's come back around, it's on trend again. But it's like this health tonic. You may recognize it if you've been on the London Underground, you might be like, I know the exact health tonic Manextra is talking about. But advertising typically is done at campaign level, where it's like for 3 months, and it's for it's got its own creative, its own message, and it's done for that container of time. If you are creating content and you are working with a business to create content, the positioning for you to work with your clients is that those assets are going to bring visibility, reach, and traffic and sales to your client's company for years to come. So we're not talking about social media content, which again is time-based. Like social media content is a little bit more akin to advertising on the underground. It's good for a time, but it is going to date, and it's not going to last for as long. Content marketing is an asset, and so when you create good quality assets that align with the ideal customer needs for your client's business, they are going to find that they're getting customers, leads, and growth even 3 years down the line. So the customer journey gives you a sense of what people are doing, thinking, feeling, what success looks like, some keyword options, and then FAQs that people might be asking at this stage of the customer journey. And it helps you to build out a picture of what the customer journey looks like for each stage of a brand, and make sure that when you're creating assets, you are aligning those assets with the customer journey. So another good piece of research. Customer jobs we've looked at as well, and this is creating context for what the ideal outcome is, and for what people are trying to do and how it fits into their lives. So as far as the strategy is concerned, pulling together all of that foundational knowledge historically would take hundreds of hours, and you can pull together a really good quality customer journey map that is like topically relevant to content as well, and then assign it to assets that your client has already out in public in like 8 to 16 hours, like 1 to 2 days. So I would be able to do it in a day because I work really, really quickly. And it's like second nature to me. But like this is a day or two of work where you are able to pull out different things and provide your client with a much more like resilient, usable strategy that kind of makes contextual sense for them as well. So they're much more likely to be able to persevere with it, because you're giving them a cohesive picture instead of just saying, create this blog post in March, create this blog post in April, create this blog post in June, make sure you create 2 YouTube videos in May or whatever. But you're giving them the contextual framework that is going to make their strategy ultimately more successful as well, and also help them to see why they should say yes to you creating the assets for them if you've got them on a retainer. So content planning is like the foundational stuff. Then we can get into things like creating, I clicked the wrong button there, but social magic, creating social plans and things like that. We really have like the strategy build, and then the content plan is built out on top of that. So that's your editorial calendar where you're starting to attach dates to things. But in terms of building out the strategic direction, what are the different things that you're looking at as far as topics, customer journeys, all of that kind of thing. The content magic tools will give you. So first things first, what content pillars should your brand have? So what are the key themes and topics that they could be talking about? What are the things that you should create buckets for? HubSpot started the content pillar trend with calling it content hubs, I think a few years ago. But how can you frame your client's approach to content generation in a way that makes logical sense for website hierarchy and the creation of assets? So for Hey Manextra, we've got content pillars, generative AI marketing automation tools and techniques, developing a sustainable marketing strategy, basics of SEO, crafting an organic marketing approach, creating engaging content for small businesses, utilizing social media for business growth. These are all suggestions for content pillars, right? So these are then some adjacent concepts, but getting some content pillars kind of decided, shortcut that. Once you've decided on your content pillars, you add them into your brand at the bottom here, which I have already done that. They already exist. And then you can go into your content ideas and you can get different keyword ideas, subtopics, and FAQs for each of those pillars that allow you to build out that strategy. So we've understood who your customers are. We've made decisions about what the content pillars are based on what we know about our customers and what our clients are trying to achieve. And now it's time for us to build out what the pieces of content should be and what they should look like. And so we can do that again by researching the keywords and FAQs, and then also looking at subtopics for particular article inspiration, or thinking through what videos could be created or what podcast content could be created. So we've got different suggestions for each of these areas here as well. So I'm not going to click through all of them because I'm very aware of time. But getting those content ideas then again and putting them through that filter of who is the customer, who is the client, what are they trying to achieve, what have they already got, where are the gaps? And that's the analytical approach as we're building out that strategy. Once you've got content ideas, you can also get a content outline here as well. So this will give you, different content concepts for positioning the brand itself. But then again, we can get content titles and social media post ideas for each of the content pillars. So again, as we're building out that idea of a longer term content plan, a content strategy, not something that is necessarily connected specifically to our editorial calendar right now, but we can get these ideas for content and for social posts that relate to this overarching theme or topic. The final piece for me is always to then pull that into a date-based calendar that makes sense for what your client is selling at any given point, and to make sure that it fits together with like their launches. But that's kind of the last piece for me, because once you've got all of this, that sorts itself out. So social post ideas: 5 must-have tools for automating your email marketing. Carousel posts showcasing the top tools, their features and pricing. Before and after real business results from marketing automation. A video case study from a client showing metrics before and after implementing automation. The beginner's guide to setting up automation. An infographic detailing the step-by-step setup instructions for a basic automation funnel. Marketing automation myths busted. A series of short clips debunking common misconceptions about marketing automation. So these are all different ideas that are going to potentially be helpful for talking more about this topic. And especially if you've got a launch at some point in the year that talks about marketing automation, these would be the types of things that you would want to talk about in order to prime and prep your audience for that. So the content titles and social post ideas for this tool are designed to help you spend more time applying things to your client context, and instead of having to overthink and over research and then ends up just basically manually having to filter through a whole lot of information before you can present your client with something that is actionable. So once you've done that, pulled all of that together, made a decision, then pulling it into a date-based calendar might be something that falls within your remit, or it might be that you provide them with the things that they need to do, and then it's their responsibility for making sure that their team are implementing things. But if you are responsible for implementation, using their existing body of work to repurpose across the gaps is a really great way of capturing their tone of voice and making sure that you are covering the like concepts and topics in an in-depth way. So content magic here, we have got the content repurposing tool. Again, I've demoed this on previous sessions, but let's just for the sake of having everything in this video, instead of you feeling like you need to go anywhere else, we're just going to copy and paste all of this. At the risk of this taking ages, because it's long. Oh, it's not too long. Maybe it'll be fine. It'll take a little while to cook, I think, here, because we've got a long post. But we've repurposed this into a social media post. So we're going to let that cook. And you can take existing content and, when it comes to the calendar of what needs to go out when, if you are responsible for social content as well as video strategy and content and different things, then you can absolutely repurpose existing stuff. If you're creating things from scratch, we're going to cover that in a minute. So this is a caption that has been taken and repurposed from the above. This is my favorite thing to do this week, and it is an unknown because I have not I have obviously just copied and pasted that. So let's analyze this. So this is 83% human generated, and so that's lower than it has been for a while. But when you are going through, you can just make your final edits and then double check it through an AI content generator. 83% is still, it's up there, but it is a little bit higher than I would like it to be. And I'm just having a little think about where that has come from. But once you've repurposed it, it's 80% of the way there. And then the final thing is just making sure that your formatting is how you want it to be and that you have got human elements in the writing and that it passes the AI content detector test. And I talked more about that last night as well, so I'm not going to get too much into it, but generative AI is being penalized by Google if it's obvious. So it's really important that your content passes AI detection tests, particularly if you are writing long form articles for websites. And your content, even if you write it from scratch yourself, can still get picked up as being AI detected. So this is part of the thing for me here. This was a podcast that I then repurposed. If you use really good quality writing and grammar, you're more likely to get picked up as a potential for AI generated content. And so sometimes you need to just do a review to make sure that things like your use of punctuation are consistent with how you would normally write. But because the starting content is like well structured and it follows a format because it's repurposed from my podcasts, there is a potential that it's been picked up because my initial content followed a kind of framework of copy, and so the logical flow of it is very precise. So as far as the repurposing piece goes, obviously that's a great place to be able to pull things in between bigger pieces of content and bigger, more in-depth sort of projects. The transcript magic tool is also great for repurposing and for also identifying areas or what that could be repurposed, like a couple of paragraphs into something bigger. So that also is a really great one when it comes to planning out that workflow of what you should be working on next. As far as creating things from scratch, I am going to go into the blog magic and we're going to pull out a blog post for let's do SEO in a weekend. So if you are creating content for your clients, making sure that blog posts align with the customer journey and are bringing your ideal customer closer and closer to the point of purchase is a really key part of making sure that evergreen content is working well for your business and you're not just getting views but not making any conversions. So this tool gives you a sort of outline of 5 different blog posts or more, but you can pick your title. The idea is that you have 5 blog posts per product, so or per category. If you're an e-commerce business owner, don't freak out. You don't need to have like 500 different blog posts, but you can pull out a blog post title. So we can let's use this as the title. And what I'm going to do here is copy and paste that into this other tool. So where's our blog generator? Oh, I forgot I've updated this. Let me go back here. I forgot that I'd updated the interface to make this a little bit easier. So all you need to do now is actually start with the title. So we're going to click create blog post. And I've just remembered it's going to take a minute for this because I've clicked all of it and it's going to generate all of them now. So let's give that a moment to think about it. And it's going to create some different title options. It's going to provide a blog outline, and then it will create the blog post, and then it will supply a call to action suggestion and an SEO title and description. But it will this would normally take a little bit longer anyway, because the blog post will be a bit of a longer piece of text. But basically I should have done it manually for the purposes of this. We're just going to have a bit of dead air. So we are going to watch this happen in real time. And then once you have done that, so, once you've got your content plan, your strategy outlined, you know what content you're going to be creating, these are tools that can help you for creating things completely from scratch. Again, you always want to be using human filters for the content that you're creating. This is not a 100% I'm going to sell a content marketing service and then get AI to do it all for me. That is not going to work out in the long term for your client. But this gets rid of the blank page overwhelm that we often can face when we are, especially if we're working with clients where their niche is not ours. So I have worked for different agencies over the course of the last 19 years doing SEO. I've talked about the fact that I started with medical articles. I was 15 and I was keyword optimizing medical advice on the internet. For a couple of years I did that, and then I've worked with as part of that I also worked with some different businesses who did like automotive and car supplies and things like that. I've done quite a lot of stuff for people in like travel spaces, but like not the kind of travel that I would ever do. I'm just trying to think. Very finance is another one. Basically, like the reason that I've ended up building out SEO is because marketing magic is because the SEO experience that I've had, like you can apply SEO as a principle across pretty much any industry, because you're doing a deep dive to research your audience every time. So you end up with like quite a overly detailed knowledge of things that you don't know a lot about, and then you're creating articles for them. But if you're faced with when you're faced with the idea of having to write 5 articles about European car engines and how they're different from other engines, and I don't even have a driving license because I've just never got around to taking my driving test. I just let my husband chauffeur me around. So when I'm writing articles about how luxury car engines differ based on who the company is, like that is something I did not know anything about until I just did like a huge deep dive into the space. So when you're faced with that, obviously it's quite an energy intensive process, and if you've got something that can kind of shortcut your learning process for your clients, you still know how to deliver really good quality content, and you can also bring in experts and people to talk about it in more detail for some of the bigger assets that you might be creating. But you can get started with a deep dive into the industry or an outline of the topic without you needing to become the expert in order to talk about it. Anyway, this has been done for a little while now, but so title options. These are some different blog post titles based on the topic that I've put in here. So, transform your visibility, simple SEO strategies for small businesses, how SEO can make your small business shine online. Nice. And then we've got a blog outline as well. So we've got a sort of structure here for what that blog post looks like. This normally you can use the title to inform the blog post, but because I hit everything in one go, it's created a blog post without having the outline. So still a great quality blog post. And we've got an introduction and some different headings here as well. I always would go in here and just add a little bit more context based on my specific experience to my blog post to make sure that they have that human element to them. And then there's a call to action for joining the mailing list that I would use on this blog post, and an SEO title and description suggestion as well. So when you're creating things from scratch, obviously that makes quite a big difference to your ability to get things done and dusted for your client, and just to get that sense of momentum. There's also a tool that will give you a blog post promotional asset, so getting the content that you've created out into the world with that as well. So that's everything that I've got to share with you for today. I'm staying on time because I've got another live at 7 p.m. That's everything that I'm going to share on the AI powered content marketer. If you would like to use Marketing Magic for your client projects, then this is the tool that you need in your life. And we have a lifetime license available until Friday. So you can come along here, have a little look at it. The number of clients that you can use it for per year is up to you in terms of how big your business is. The commercial license normally for a year for this level is $1,700 or $1,788. It's like nearly $1,800. So this is, you know, in the next like 6 to 8 months, basically you've paid for it and you can use it for the lifetime of the product. So you've got years and years and years ahead of you, and it will be the most valuable thing that you've spent money on in your business, I promise. And I'm saying that because I've just got off a live showing the tone of voice upgrade to all of our current customers, and everyone was raving in the comments about how it was like the best thing that they've bought for their business. So I'm saying that because I've got it on good authority from our amazing customers that it is something that you will absolutely get the most use out of, and it will save you a huge amount of time, and it will allow you to have creative energy for the things that you would prefer to be spending your time on when it comes to working with your clients. Because the things that you are spending time on with your clients that aren't necessarily as measurable to your client, but you know that the space to do that makes you able to be more creative, to perform and help meet their goals more effectively. But those that creative energy is not something that is as measurable. However, it is the most impactful thing. So if you have got support for the deliverable side of things that allows you to have a little bit more creative space to think through how your clients can effectively communicate with their audiences and how you can build out strategies and implementation that allow them to do that, this tool is going to help you with that. And it is going to ultimately make you a much better content marketer because you are using tools and your own expertise to deliver something that is a much higher quality than if you had to do it all yourself from scratch. So that is a rundown. You can get a free trial of Marketing Magic if you haven't already. Just go to marketingmagic.app and then there's a little button that says get a free trial, and you can try it free for 7 days. The commercial license is available until Friday. And we have just brought back our lifetime license for regular users as well, because we've had a lot of questions from people during this season of lives asking about whether they can get a commercial license for their own business, but they're not working with clients. So we have brought that back because of demand. But if you have any questions about it at all, Lucy and I are here to help and answer them. And I will leave you there for today. And I will be back in 25 minutes with our next session in the AI powered service provider. This is the one that I reorganized because I fell over on Friday and ended up bruising myself. So that's why we've got some back to back today. But I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have been hanging out, if you're watching the replay, just let us know in the comments if there's anything that you have questions about, and I will see you on another live.